Okay, class, today we're going to be drawing a bike in AutoCAD. To get started, open up AutoCAD, click on Start Drawing. First thing we want to do is bring in a reference image. So to do that, actually, first thing I'm going to do is set the units. My apologies. So to start out, you're going to type in DWG units. So hit enter. In this case, the image I'm bringing in is in millimeters, so I'm going to hit 3 for millimeters and hit enter. Then hit enter through all this other stuff. It's all fine. Okay, now I'm going to bring in that image, so I'm going to go to Insert, Attach, and this one is going to be Road Bike Side View, and hit Open. Say OK, and bring that in. Okay. In order to get this to the right size, I need to find out how big 988 millimeters is. So I'm going to create a line. I'm going to try to start, it's a little bit hard to see the crosshairs on this because it is so very white. One thing I can do is if I select this image, I can go over to here and I can fade it out a little bit. That'll make it a little bit less bright and easier to look at. Now I can create my line here. So I'm trying to start it right around where the arrow is, kind of in the middle of that line. Bring that down straight. If I'm on that dotted green line, I'm nice and straight. I'm going to copy that over 988 millimeters. I'm just going to click, type in 988, hit enter, and that'll do it. And I can escape to get out of that command. So actually it is pretty close to 988 already. Let's pretend it wasn't. Let's pretend it was way bigger. So if I did scale, right now I'm just scaling it, so it's, let's say it's like 3 times bigger than that. Okay, so if that were the case, I'm going to type in a line. Again, try to get it right in the middle there. Copy it over. 988, hit enter. Okay, now to get that down to that scale, I'm going to select it. Notice how I'm clicking in one place, kind of dragging this rectangle towards the left. That means that it'll select anything it touches. If I go the other way, it'll only select it if it's entirely encased in my boundary. So, selecting that, type in scale. My base point is going to be on this line. I want to put in a reference, so I'm going to type in R, hit enter. And then my reference length is going to be from here all the way over to here. I want it to actually be from there to there. Okay, and just to check it, I'm going to type in DIST to measure distance. Check here, check there, 98. I'm good. All right. Next thing I want to do is I want to change the units back to inches just because I'm more familiar with inches. So I'm going to do DWG units, and then I'm going to type in 1 for inches and hit enter through all this other stuff. Okay, so if I go back and check this again with DIST, I know 988 millimeters should be kind of like around 3 feet. So let's just see if that seems about right. 3 feet, 2 inches, that seems about right. Okay, so I think we're good. I have a few other drawings I want to bring in to guide our drawing today. So I'm going to go to Attach. I want the side view image where I can actually see the bike itself rather than the diagram. I'm going to put that right over here and bring it in. Okay, and I also want the front view. So I'm going to do Attach again. I think it's this one, front view, open. Okay, and I'm just guesstimating how big it is for right now, and then we'll fix it in a minute. Okay, all 3 of these images these are really bright, so I'm going to bring down the brightness. So again, if I select them, it'll bring up that little image tab and I can fade them out. Great. And next thing I want to do is deal with my layers. So these right now are on all on layer 0. And I want to have a few more layer options. So you might not have this properties manager, so let me show you where that is. If I go home, I'm going to click on layer properties over here and that'll bring it up. And if I expand this to the side, this is where I actually see those layers. So right now it's on layer 0 and I'm going to rename this. Rename layer. Oh, I can't rename that one. Okay, then layer 0 we know is our reference layer. I'm going to make a new layer called guidelines. And I'm going to change the color to orange so we can see it. Okay. So to get on that layer, I want to click on here, double click, so the green check is on that layer. I'm going to use the wheels to scale the other drawings to be the same. So if I do a line here from the top of the wheel and over, okay, I'm going to do another one down here, and I could actually even just copy this one down. So type in CO, enter, copy from here down to the bottom of that wheel. Okay. So now to get these other ones, well, that one I'm going to have something else to do. Okay, but for this one, I'm going to move it. So I'm going to select it, type in M for move, bring the bottom of that up to there, and then I'm going to select it and type in scale, specify my base point. It's going to be the bottom of that wheel, reference, bottom of the wheel, top of the wheel, and I'm zooming in and out with my middle scroll button, and I'm going to bring that down to there. Okay, so now this should be approximately the right size. And now to get this over to the right size, I want the top of that wheel to be at the top of this. So I'm going to move that right to the top of there. And then I can see that the top of where the top of those handlebars are. So I'm going to draw a line. There's like little top of the shifters. Bring that over. And I'm going to scale that. So between top of the wheel and top of those shifters. It looks like those shifters are just about on that line. Oops, I forgot to type in reference. Control Z will undo that. Whoa. Hang on. Control Z. Control Z. Okay, so let's scale that again. I forgot to put in my reference point. So R, enter. Okay, now I can scale with a reference. So now I'm bringing it from about here down to here. I'm going to move this over. It's still not perfect, so I'm going to try that one more time. So I know if I'm going to scale base point, I'm going to make over here, reference, from here to the top of this. I really want it there. Okay, that's pretty close. So now that those are in place, oh, and notice one thing, the seat height in the front view picture they took is not the same as the one when they took the side view picture. They moved the seat. So that's something we're going to have to fix in the drawing later. It's not a big deal, just something to fix. Let's see if anything else is messed up like that. So is the top of this about the same? Oh, the top of that should probably come down a tiny bit too. Okay, so maybe the handlebars are a little bit lower here. So let's actually scale this down a tiny bit more. So I'm going to select this, scale, base point, reference from here, and do the top of this thing. Just making sure I'm getting that right. I feel like the top of this should really be there. Okay, and that looks a little bit closer overall, even though the handlebars are in a little bit of a different place. That's something that we can deal with later when we're modeling in Rhino. Okay, now that I have this set up, I'm not going to worry about drawing with this one anymore. I'm just going to use these so that I don't mess with the guidelines I've already set up, or I don't mess with these layers. I'm going to lock this one. I'm going to give myself one more guideline. It's going to be the very center of each wheel, and it's going to be the center of this. So I'm going to create a center line, approximate it. Let's say it's like from here to here. When I'm drawing, I'm only going to draw half and then mirror it over. And then let's say for the wheels, I kind of want to know like where the center point of them is. So let's say it's like, say it's from there to there, and there over there-ish. Okay. And those two should be the same, so I'm going to copy that whole thing over until it looks like it's just about where that wheel is centered. Okay, great. So now that I have those guidelines set, I'm going to create a new layer. This one I'm going to call wheels, and then I'm going to lock my guideline layer so I don't mess with it. Okay, the wheels layer I'm going to make pink. Okay, so on my wheels layer, I'm going to put in my wheels, so I'm going to make a circle. starting right at that middle point. And notice I didn't get off my guideline layer, gotta double click. Okay, so I'm gonna make a circle, C, enter. Center point of the circle, radius, I'm going to come all the way down to there. All right, then rather than drawing each of these as a circle, I'm going to use the offset command to get these other circles. So I'm going to select it, type in O for offset, hit enter. It says specify offset distance. So I'm going to go from here, click there, and that'll give my first offset line when I click again. Then I'm going to select it, do the same thing, offset distance, there to there, enter. Oop, I didn't hit it fast enough. From there to there, click it. Okay. And then one more time. All right. These two wheels we're going to say are the same, so I'm just going to copy that right over and copy it from that center point over to the center point of this one. I also have a wheel over here. So to get that in, I'm going to draw just one half of it to start with. So I'm going to put in my line and I'm going to line it up with this. And I'm going to start it all the way up here and bring it all the way down to the ground over here. And I can tell when it is perpendicular because it'll have that little green thing show up. I hit enter to end the line. And I want to have a circle to show the top of that. So I'm going to type in C for circle. I know the radius is going to end up hitting here, so I'm going to click there. I'm going to move it down so that this is on there. And then I'm going to use something called the trim command in order to trim this out. So I'm going to select this line, and I don't know if it'll let me do that. Yeah, I don't know if it'll let me do that if it is locked. So let me actually unlock that a second. Okay, so I select this, all three of those lines, and type in TR for trim. I then select the object to trim. So I want to trim off the end of this line, I want to trim off the end of that, and I want to trim off that. Okay, great. Then I want to have the same exact circle, little piece of a circle down at the bottom. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to MI for mirror, hit enter, click here, over, and then erase source objects, no. Okay, I'm going to move this up, bring the bottom to the bottom of the wheel, and same thing here, I'm going to select this, type in TR for trim, hit enter, and then select the object I'm trimming. I want this all to be one shape, so I'm going to select those, and also select this top piece, and I'm going to join those with a J, join, enter. Okay, so what else do we need to bring into this drawing? Let's put in some of this bike frame. So I'm going to, I don't want to get too complicated with every little thing. So let's decide what we're actually drawing. So let's draw in the frame. Let's also have one for our seat, handlebars. So we have, let's see, so we have frame, we have wheels, frame, seat, handlebars, and let's do, do we feel like doing all the pedals? We'll do one for gears and one for pedals. I think we're going to leave the chain off. So we'll do gears, pedals, and we can always add in more information. That's never an issue because we have our initial drawing. I just don't want to go overboard. So let's go to, so now we have our wheels there. We're going to lock our guidelines again. Actually, I'll leave them. Okay, so let's go to our frame next. So double click here so it turns green. Our frame lines, I'm going to put in different colors. Let's make our frame green. Okay. For a lot of this, we can just use lines. So I kind of want to define the center lines on my frame before I go adding in a whole lot of detail. So maybe I should really make another layer called center lines. You'll find those are really helpful when we get into Rhino. So let's make our center lines layer blue. Okay. Double click on it. Okay, so now I'm going to create center lines. So I'm just kind of trying to define like what are the main shapes that make up this bike. And it should be, if it is a normal bike, like a triangle. So triangle. I'm I'm trying to keep it right in the middle here. I have a piece that goes from here to this. I have a piece that goes from here over to here. A piece that goes from, this is actually slightly offset, which is interesting. So let's say this is from here to up here. This one bends, so it goes to here and then it comes over to that. Those are the main lines of my frame. And then on this side, I would just see this center piece obviously has that line coming down. Okay, so now I have those established and that'll help me in my later drawing. I now feel more comfortable with going on to do my frame. I'm going to double click on frame. Some of these lines I might be able to get through an offset, so let's see how well that works. If I type in offset and then specify offset distance, let's say it's from here to here. The only thing is you'll notice it'll be on the same layer as the other one. So if I don't want that, I want to select these lines. I can just click on them to select them. You don't have to hold anything down to select multiples. And then if I go up here, I can just select the green layer and they'll automatically change over. You'll notice that right now they're overlapping, which I don't want. So I'm going to trim those, TR for trim, and I'm going to get rid of the overlapping parts. Okay, so far so good. This is obviously a thicker piece, so I'm going to offset that separately. Offset distances from here to here. Bring that over, bring that over. This one's going to need its different offset distance. Offset from here to, let's say it's to here. And then that side. And here I'm simplifying. Obviously this gets more narrow as it goes. And we can adjust that to make it more accurate. So I can just stretch, so I can just kind of move this line in so it looks like it's getting closer to there. So I'm just moving it. I'm not holding anything down. Okay. And then I can change these over all to the green layer by selecting them and just changing it up here under home to the green layer. Okay. These things are all overlapping, which I don't want. So I'm going to select them all. Okay, these ones need to get selected. I'm going to type in TR for trim. I'm going to trim out that stuff that I don't want. I have to delete that one separately. Okay. Deleting, deleting, deleting. Deleting, deleting. Okay, that's looking okay. I'm going to get rid of those extra little pieces that got left over there. Okay. I don't really know what happens down here. I can't see that piece of the drawing. So let's pretend that it does end in like a perfect peak. So we're going to extend these lines to hit each other. So I'm going to type in extend. I'm going to select this object, hit enter, and then select object to extend. So if I select this one, see how it's not happy right now because it says, well, this one it won't hit that one. So what you're going to have to do first is create a line, and if you are right in line with it, it's going to, it'll like click to there. So we'll do that. Now let's try extend. So now if I can imagine this extending, it'll hit there. So I'm going to type in extend, select object. So I'm going to select there, and it'll bring that line out to there. Now I can trim off this side. Okay, I want to join my frame, so I'm going to select all those, select those, and the join command is going to be a J. You'll notice I missed a little piece of the frame, so we're going to go back and get that. Join. Okay, great. So to get this last piece, I'm going to again offset, specify offset distance from there to there. Bring that over, bring that over. I didn't get this side. And these are all pretty similar, so I'm going to pretend they're all the same. Okay, I'm going to switch layers of these. Over to the green layer. Okay, and now I'm going to do a trim. Actually, really, that all is like one piece, so maybe that should all just come out. Joining things back together as I can. Okay, this needs to get trimmed. Okay, so that's all one thing. Over here, we have to extend this out again. So extend it, make sure it's still on there, select it, extend. Selecting object to extend, trim out the side. Here, select TR for trim, select those, select those. Okay. These are not hitting, these are, those aren't. So select those, trim, get rid of those little edges, join those together, and then these ones, one of them you'll make long. The other one you can do an extend. Select that one, and then do a trim. And join those up. Okay, great. Oh, one more. Okay, so again, select all these lines, TR for trim, and select everything and we want to go away. Okay, and delete off the little extra hairs. Great. Okay, there's my frame. If you want to see how we're going so far, I can delete that layer. It's starting to look a little bit like a bike. I think one thing that'll really help is getting the end of this, getting in the tops of those two. So let's put this back on. To get the end of this, let's just make a circle. So I'm type in C for circle, starting here, coming out to there. And you'll notice that this piece is bigger than the frame, like this other piece, which is actually how it is in real life, so that's fine. It looks like it's really offset a tiny bit, so I'm going to bring this over a little bit. Okay. And then I can do a trim for these. And join those up. Okay. The top of this is going to go into the handlebars, so let's do our handlebars. Or should this be part of the handlebars? No, let's do our handlebars next. Okay, so I'm going to double click on here. Handlebar color, let's make it purple. Okay. Okay, so here I have an arc that I'm going to put in. So I'm going to click on arc, and it's going to say specify start point. And then I think this one wants second point of arc. So that would be here, and then last point is there. Okay. To get in the other pieces of this, this looks like it's going to be a polyline, so I'm going to select polyline. Can select the end here, bring that up, and here I'm just tracing over to get it to look right. Same thing here, tracing up, tracing over to get it to look right. And I can join all those lines. All right, again, we're going to have another arc over here, so I hit arc. I'm going to go here to the middle, to the bottom. You'll notice that these lines don't quite mesh with that well, so I'm going to select this, trim out the extra, and then here I'm going to do an extend to get that to extend to there. Okay, I want to get in these kind of elephanty ear things. So they're not exactly an arc, so I'm going to use something called a spline. Type in spline, and that just allows me to trace in this line as I go around. And then this should be it, hopefully a clean offset. And also if I select this, you'll notice I can adjust these lines a little bit to get it closer to the curve I want. So let's say that's about right. Let's see if I just offset this and I make the distance from here to here, how close that's going to be. That's not too bad. I'm going to end this one with an arc and middle there. And then this piece though, like it really does change geometry here. So here I'm going to put in a separate spline. Spelling is sometimes a challenge in AutoCAD. Okay, so bring in that, and I just want these to kind of mesh cleanly when they match. So that's not so clean. So I'm going to try that again. So spline. So here, 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 enter. Okay, and then I'm going to trim off that piece that is gone. Okay, great. Now I can join those all together. And again, this is a simplified version. It is not perfect, and that is totally fine. Okay, we don't have those breaks in, so I'm just going to put in one side of the breaks rather than both sides. So I'll use my spline to bring up over to here. And I'm just using one big shape to do this. Okay, and then the breaks. This is all approximate. Okay. Great. So we're missing gears, pedals, seat. So go to gears next, maybe. Double click on there so the green arrow changes. Let's make our gears red. Okay. I'm just using circles for these. I don't want to make it too complicated. So I'm just going to type in C for circle. Get it about at that center line. Bring it out to the outside there. And then I can offset that. To the inside of there. If I want to kind of get in some of that like star shape that's happening, let's say it's like that-ish, and then there's one for the pedal coming kind of this way. Okay, so I'm going to offset each of these. You know what? That is too much detail. We are taking that out. Forget that. We're just going to use the circles for the gears. Okay, so we have that down. Let's put for the, even though this is, I know, much more complicated, let's just put in some circles so it doesn't look crazy. So starting here, we'll give a circle for that. Circle for the very outside ones. We just have those two, and we're going to call that a day for the gears. Pedals. The pedals themselves are separate from this piece. So I think I still want to keep that as like one ring. Let's do this as a piece and the pedals as a piece. So let's change this to a color you can see, whatever, it doesn't really matter. We'll do this cerulean here, hit OK. Okay, so I'm just going to do like 2 lines coming from this center point here. So I'm going to do a line here, and then I'm going to do an arc at the end of each one of those. So arc, and then an arc over here. And I know that's, oops, Control Z. Okay, and that's not exactly what it looks like. It's good enough for what we're using it for. So I don't love those edges. So one thing about going off the books is sometimes you make things you don't really like. So let's join it to start with. So I'm going to select all these things. Hit join so it's one shape. But I kind of want to smooth that out. So I'm going to see if it'll let me fillet it. So if I type in fillet, the radius right now is 0 inches, which isn't going to work. So I'm going to make my radius, and I'm going to make it really small because I don't know how big the drawing is. So let's say it's like 1/64 of an inch. And I'm going to select my first object, second object, and see it filleted if that's way too small. So I'm going to Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Okay, so let's fillet it like, I don't know, 1/2 inch. So I'm going to type in fillet and do radius and make it 1/2 inch. And I select here, select there, and it disappeared. Why is that? Did it disappear because it went behind? It disappeared because it went behind. Okay, so it's still there though. It's looking a lot better. So I'm going to fillet my other edges too. So fillet this one, cleared that up. enter this one, that's a little better, enter this one. And those two aren't, see when you zoom in, they're not actually touching, so it's not gonna work. So I need to make them touch to begin with. So I'm going to bring this over so they intersect. And now let's see if it'll let me fill it in. It might still not, but there we go. Okay, so now that's a shape. This is starting to look like a bike. It's getting there. Okay, I still need to put my pedal on. So I'm going to turn this back on. And now I'm just going to make my pedal a pure square rather than this crazy shape. So, and I know it probably has like a smaller circle behind it. So I'm actually going to draw that in even though I can't really see it. So I'm going to do a circle where I think the pedal attaches to this other piece, and now I'm going to do a rectangle for the other part. I can just do this kind of rectangle where you specify one corner, specify the other corner. Great, we have a pedal, and I really want that to be centered on where my triangle is. So if I do a line, now I know where the center of my circle is. I can move the center of this over to here. And if you're not getting center points, if you go down here to your O-snap, you can turn on midpoint, endpoint, all these different things to help you find intersections. Sometimes some of them get turned off, so that's where you find those. Okay. Last thing, the seat. And actually the end of this is not resolved. And the end of this is not resolved. So let's resolve this by trimming out, trim, there we go. And then let's resolve the end of this just by continuing the frame. So I'm going to double click on here. I'm going to do this with one big spline. Spline, starting here, coming over, coming over, coming over, coming up, hitting enter, and then a second one over here, coming over up to here. And then it looks like a pretty straight line to me from here to here. So I'm going to make it a straight line. Okay. This one obviously didn't touch, so I can adjust that after by changing my stretch point. And all of this I'm going to join. And then I'm going to trim out this piece. Okay, and now this should all join. Awesome. So now that I have that, let's do the seat. Seat shape, so let's get on my seat layer, double click here. Change the color to something you'll remember. How about this light orange? Okay. I think the seat's going to be a pretty straight line, and the bottom this will be a spline, and the secondary piece will be a spline. So I'm going to start out with my pretty straight line on the top from here to here. It's not exactly straight actually, so let's do a spline. So starting here, going to here, to here, to here, enter, and then I'm going to make the top of this one. Enter. This looks maybe not exactly straight, so we'll still use a spline. Anywhere I want to have like a sharper curve, I'm just restarting the spline rather than trying to get it to bend over that. Okay, so there's that. And then to get this piece, I'm going to do a spline up over to here. And I'm going to offset this. And let's say it's like that much. Okay, I'm going to trim out the stuff that goes behind the seat. So trim, I don't need to see that. Don't need to see that. Same thing over here, I don't use that. Okay, the seat and this are not connected right now, so I'm just going to put in a couple lines to show that somehow they're connected. We don't know exactly how. We don't really care at the moment. Okay, great. So that's all together. If I turn this off, I can still see that that's pretty much my whole bike. If I turn off my guidelines, I still have all my pieces. Awesome. So you'll notice that the front view is woefully undone. So I want to turn that back on so I can see, turn that back on so I can see. So what still needs to happen? I need to bring in my bike frame. And again, I can always create more guidelines. So if I want to know where my bike frame is going to end, I want to make sure my drawings match, right? So I want that to come out to there. We're missing part of this drawing. So that means we're going to have to make up a little bit down here, which I think we can do fairly accurately. the top of this, we actually have the top of this all the way up here, so let's bring that over so we don't forget about it. I'm going to delete this one so it doesn't confuse us. Okay. So let's start out with the frame. So let's go to my frame layer. And here I'm just going to use a spline. So type in spline. And it's going to come from up here down. I know I'm ending here, so let's pretend it comes pretty straight down to here. I don't know if it's going to come out that much. Maybe I'll bring this in a little bit. Okay. That's my wheels all the way over here. Yeah, but there's probably some other stuff in there. So we'll just offset this now. It's coming over here. I'm going to do offset. And we're going to say it's from here to here. Okay. And then the end of this should have a circle. Well, actually, no. It might be a circle in that view, but in this view, it's just going to be straight, right? So I'm just going to put a line there to close that off. I didn't do a very good job. Line. And here, this needs to extend. And then trim the other part of the green. Okay, and then all that can get joined. Join. Okay, I want these to come over the top, so I'm going to use an arc up to here. Okay, I'm going to join this. And again, like, this is probably not 100% accurate, good enough for what we're doing. Okay, I want to bring the frame all the way up to there. I have this as all one solid line, so I'm going to keep it as one solid spline here as well. So with this coming over, I'm going to type in spline. And notice again, I'm just drawing 1/2, right? So here I'm tracing, just tracing. That's all I'm doing. Okay, great, that's traced in. Okay, that's enough for my frame. Now for the handlebars, so I'm going to change over my handlebars thing. I'm going to do an arc to start it out. And is that starting all the way down there? Yeah, this is starting all the way over here, so that's where I'm going to start it here. I don't want to like have drawings that don't match. Oh, so here I was thinking of it, yeah, so here I need to make sure I get my midpoint first. So I'm only drawing half. Okay. This bar is going to come straight across, so I'm going to do line, coming straight across, straight across. This looks like it's a little bit thicker here, so I'll come down to there. This goes a little bit thicker here with the tape. And then it looks like it starts to curve, spline. Same thing here. And actually, I think I'm just going to offset this. That distance. Okay. And the end of this offset obviously doesn't match up, so that's when I'll use my spline again, come through and try to get those to even out a little bit. Whoa, that obviously didn't work, so I can delete that and try again. Spline. So starting here, coming over. Okay. And now I can trim out this other part. TR for trim. Object does not intersect. Really? No. Okay. So see how they don't intersect? Indeed. So I'm going to extend it first. Select this, hit enter, select that one to go over it. Now we select the two, type in trim, select, and then I want this one to go away. Actually, I can probably just delete that out now. No. This one? I guess I want that one to go away. Try that again. Get rid of that. Okay, great. I'm going to put an arc for the bottom of this. Arc's up here. The midpoint, get the bottom. Okay. So I have all that in. And I can join those. I can take all this, join it to this. Okay, I want the brakes as a whole separate volume, even though it's overlapping these. I kind of want to see them separately. So I'm going to do those all in one spline again. Undo if you make a point that you just hate, just, you know, you. Okay, up. And we keep going up. Okay, great. So I have all that, and that circle I might want. I might be okay without it. I might want that circle. So I'm going to spline just to show us where it is. In Rhino, it'll be modeled totally differently, but this is just to like remind us that something is there. And again, that got nuts, so I'm going to delete that one. The thing about splines is like in AutoCAD, you can't always see where they're going, so sometimes you're safer with arcs if it is simple enough to do with an arc. Just leave that one. Okay. So I'm going to take this. That piece is all fine. This is all fine. We're missing a spline here to connect this up to here. Okay. And then actually there's a little extra frame back here that I'm missing. So I'm going to get back to my frame. Spline. Trace that out. And that should be where my seat ends. Let's see if we have them ending at the same point. So again, I'm bringing over a line to check where I'm at with that. So I actually have my seat ending all the way down there. Oh, right, this is what we talked about, that the seats are not shown at the same place in this drawing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace the seat here, and then I'm going to bring it down to where it is in the other drawing, and then I'm going to figure out how to attach the two. So I'll go over to my seat. I'm only going to trace half of it using a spline. So here we go. Trace, trace. And the bottom of this is actually kind of pretty, but I don't think I want that much detail, so I'm just going to make this look a little bit simpler. So spline. Nope, let's do it this way. So I'm just doing a regular line. Offset from here to here. Okay, extend from here. Okay, arc. Trim out the sides, trim, trim. Okay, and then line from here to here, and from here to here. Okay, so this whole piece I'm going to bring down. The top of the seat should be right at that line. So I'm going to move that so it comes down. And actually, I want that piece, like the highest point should be there. So I'm going to keep moving it. Great. Okay, now you can see like these look like they're much closer to matching up correctly. So I'm going to bring that up the rest of the way. And this is here, but like, yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, so I'm going to have a line here just to finish this off. I put it on the wrong layer, so I'm just going to select it, change the layer here, join those. Right now, these are not shown as connected at all, of course. So I'm going to put in a line from here to here. I can extend it over and trim it later, offset. And then use this to trim. Okay, so now if I turn this off, I have half of a bike. This needs to look like it's connected. That just looks nuts. So to fix that, I'll just make a little extra frame piece that goes from here over to here. Offset, need that much. Okay, so that looks a little bit less nuts. Then I'm going to select all of this minus this thing, so you can control hit shift to get rid of something in your selection. I'm going to hit MI for mirror and then go from here. Just keep it nice and straight, and that'll mirror over my lines. So I turn off my guidelines now. I have my bike. Okay, so I should save this. I should have saved this way sooner. So I'm going to save it somewhere I can find it. You should find some place to save it that you will also be able to find it. So I'm going to type in Zay bike tutorial. Okay, and save that. Great. So the next thing we're going to do is deal with some sheets. So what you need to start with is actually a different file, and then we'll come back to this file. So what I want you to do is find this thing called architectural title block. I should have a copy of this I can open. Okay, so I have a copy. You should have your own copy with your own name. So you're going to double click and open this up. When you are in here, this file is going to help us set up our page in the other file. Your company that you eventually work for will have their own, or you yourself will have your own. So I'm just going to type in my information about this project. So firm name and address, I'm just going to put in my own name in here. And you don't need to put in a lot of information. This is just for show. So Katie's Hay, project name and address, and here I would just type in bike tutorial. Okay. Is there anything else I need to change here? This, nope, all this stuff does not need to change here. Great. Okay, so once I'm done with that, I click save, and then I'm going to get out of there. So this it's called model space. That's what we've been working in so far. Everything we've been making the actual size it is. Like if something is an inch in real life, it is an inch in here. What we're now going to go into is something called paper space, where you are able to apply an architectural scale. So I'm going to go over to this thing that says layout 1. I can actually make a new one too, but for now I'm just going to click on layout 1. And here you can see we have a piece of paper and you can see the drawing. I don't know what size this piece of paper is right now. I want to find out. So try double clicking it, right clicking it. Okay. If it's not going to let me right click it, should let me right click it. There we go. Okay, so I think I have to be careful not to be on the text, be right to the side of it. Then you're going to go over to Page Setup Manager. And here, layout 1 is the one we're working with. We're going to say modify. And let's change it over to 24 by 36, which is ArcD. That's a pretty standard size of paper. Everything else here is all good. Normally, like if you were plotting this for real, you would put in where you're plotting it to and everything. I'm not going to set this up for you because it's going to be different on the school computers, and it'll be different wherever you eventually work. But just know that in here you would have a special plotter setting. And it would also, so you'd set like, okay, so let's pretend you were doing AutoCAD PDF. And then you would also have a plot style table with pen assignments. So you can just click one of these for now. But the way this works is every single one of the colors that you set over here is a specific kind of line. So in that case, the file you're working in, usually every company already has their own, where they would be like, okay, the pink is actually going to be a really thick line, and the blue is going to be a really thin line, etc. I am not going to get all into that today because it's going to be variable on where you're working, and we're just learning the basics for right now. You generally would be setting all of your thicknesses, etc. in Illustrator, but that's where it is that you know for the future. Okay, so all I want really changed there was this ArcD. Actually, is there a black and white one? I'm going to actually change this to grayscale. If you have that one, change it to grayscale too. That'll get rid of all the crazy colors. ArcD, grayscale, PDF, smallest size. Great. Okay. So you'll notice that now this is our size of paper. This is what's called our viewport. It's a view of our drawing. I want you to create 3 viewports. So first one, this one's too small, so let's make this way bigger. Okay, you'll notice right now your drawing's really tiny in there. When you double click, it brings you back to Models Place, and if you click down, you can pan. So if I'm hitting the middle mouse button, I can pan, I can zoom in and out. When I zoom in and out, you're going to notice this number down here is changing. This is the scale of your viewport. So I don't want to just estimate that. I want it to be an exact scale. So what I will do, and actually let's make this a little bit, okay, so I'm going to go over here. I'm going to change the scale. Let's say we're going to work at 6 inches equals 1 foot. Is that way too big? That's way too big. Okay, so let's try 3 inches equals 1 foot. 3 inches equals 1 foot. Okay, that's not too bad. So I'm going to pop this over here. Click outside, double click out here. Now I'm back in paper space. I'm going to drag the sides of this so I see my whole drawing here. Okay. What I am missing right now is my title block. So I'm going to type in XREF. That means I'm going to reference in a separate file. Over here, when the XREF thing comes up, external references, I'm going to click on Attach DWG. Click on that title block I modified and hit Open. Everything here should be fine. You want it to go to 0, 0, 0. You want it to be the same scale, and overlay, you want that selected. Okay. So there it is. Awesome. Right now this is fitting in here, which is good. I also wanted to fit in one detail, so I might bring this down. Generally in AutoCAD, when you have a detail, it's a whole nother drawing. So I'm going to go back to model space a second. Let's say I want to show this way bigger because, what do I want to show way bigger? Yeah, let's say I want to show this way bigger because it has complicated stuff in it, even though I didn't add all the complicated stuff. So in that case, I would take this whole thing that I want to copy. So let's say I'm copying all this. I'm going to copy it down over here somewhere. And I might even make like a box. So maybe I would make a little rectangle here to keep me focused on what I'm copying. And I would trim everything outside of that so I don't have to look at it. Okay. So now I have this. I'm going to delete that little piece. And in here, I might add more detail, right? So maybe in this version, instead of leaving it with everything overlapping, maybe it would actually go through and delete some things that are showing. You get the idea. But it would show more detail than the other one, ideally. So I might like go through, get rid of things that I can't see. I could add in the spokes here. I could add in the chain, whatever. So this is my detail view. This is my regular view. So now I'm going to go back to my layout. I'm going to create a new viewport. To do that, I go up to this layout bar. I go over here to rectangular viewport, and I'm going to put one in. I'm going to double click on here I'm going to pan over, zoom into the piece that I want to look at. And this piece I want to be at 6 inches equals 1 foot. So I'm going to do that. It almost fits. I'm going to make it fit in a minute. So I'll double click out here. I'm going to resize my viewport. So I'm just getting that detail I wanted to see in there. And I should be able to see, where's the edge of that box? Okay, great. So now I have my whole detail in there. I want to move this. Let's move this over to the side. Okay, this needs to be a little bit smaller in order to fit. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit. And then I should be able to move the whole thing down. It should all hopefully fit. Beautiful. Okay, I want to add in dimensions. So let's just dimension like 2 things just to show very basically how you would do this. So I usually dimension in model space. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So if I go back to model space, I'm going to make a new layer, call it dim for dimensions. I'm going to make the color fuchsia, maybe. Okay. So make sure it's selected. Type in DIM for dimension. And then I'm going to dimension all the way from here to here. That did not work. Control Z. Dim. Okay, let's just do like between the whole wheel. So it's giving me the radius because it's a circle. Or the diameter because it's a circle, but I really don't want that. So maybe I'll bring my guidelines back on so that I have something else to dimension that's not the circles. So now let's do like in between the 2 circles. So dim. So let's say I'm going between here. So from there to there. So I think it's important to pick an endpoint, otherwise it does it once. It's super tiny, you can see. We're going to fix that later. So there's that. Let's say we want the height of this piece, or height of the whole bike. I don't know. So we want the height of this. So again, you need something with actual endpoints or it seems like it gets unhappy. And my computer's frozen. Hang on. Okay. And then let's get the height of this thing. So let's do from let's do angular. It's like an arc circle line. So it really wants to like, let's put in an angle over here. Okay, so we have that angle. Great, that's enough dimensions. And then let's also put a dimension on here. So here, let's get the angle again. So let's do angular from here to here, 57 degrees, great. Let's also do the length of this. Now, obviously, this is, I'm just showing you generally how to dimension. It's a little bit random. Okay, so once I have those in, I'm going to go back to my layout, layout 1. And you can see they're pretty tiny and they're hard to read. So I'm going to double click on here and I'm going to select this and I'm going to type in properties and enter. In properties, I can go over here where it says dim style and change it to annotative. And then pan, be careful not to zoom in and out when you are in this mode. And then change this to annotative. And then escape. Now you can, oh no, I think I zoomed out too soon. Okay. Paper. It happens. Okay, so I'm going to select this, go back to, so what happened there, I got stuck in, I should have changed it back to paper space, I got stuck in model space and I messed it up. So let's, actually let's go back into model space, just try to find my drawing again. Okay, there's my drawing. Click over here, make it back to 6 inches equals 1 foot. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. You'll notice those got bigger. So now if I click, I can go to paper space. Okay, so I can select this, go into model space, and I want to select those dimensions and again change them to annotative. So from standard over to annotative. And then that one I can't see. I'm going to have to move it in a second. So this one I want it to be annotative. I think that's all I had in there, isn't it? Oh, I had this one, and I want that to be annotative. The paper space. What that does is it makes them bigger so that I can actually read them in this view. And I'll move this over and just bring this out a tiny bit so you can see that dimension string. So like the text in here and the text in there are the same view, even though the drawings are at 2 different scales. Last thing I want you to do is type in some information into here. So if I go here to text, I can type in project. So here I would type in like tutorial. And then the date, which is going to be 11/26/20. The scale, if your drawing's all one scale, you put in here, but I'll just put in the one for the big drawing. This is going to be 6 inches equals 1 foot, 0 inches. And this is sheet number 001. And like there's other information you can add into here, but the idea is that you can have different sheets that show different kinds of drawings, even though your model, without affecting your model. So none of that text goes onto here. That all is just in my printed layout space. Okay, once you have that, save your file again. This is what you need to show me you finished the tutorial. I bet you can print a PDF. Let's see if we can do that. So we go to print, just continue to plot a single page. Make sure your paper size is still ArcD, grayscale. Let's hit OK. And let's save it somewhere you can find it again. So mine's going to be under Mica, week 2, and layout PDF save. Okay, and there it is. And obviously, like all these line weights are things that I could change in that plot style. Right now, my guidelines are way heavier than everything else. So those are things that we can change in the future, but that's what you need for today.